Hi everybody, Mrs. Findlay here. It's good to see you all. Hope you've had a good holiday and that you're ready to get down to some work. So our lessons are going to be like they would be in school. We're going to do starter questions to begin with, and then we're getting on to the main body of the lesson. So I think the best way to work this is if I'll give you a little hint for each question, and you can then pause the video whilst you work it out and then come back to me. Okay, so for this first question, find 35% of £29. Remember, 35% is made up of 30% plus 5%, and I want you to do this without a calculator. So the 30% you would find by working out 10% and timesing by 3, and then the 5% you would find by working out 10% and halving it, and that'll give you your 35%. Okay, so pause it just now whilst you work that out. Okay, here we go for the answer then. So we've got our 10% is £2.90, because we're just dividing our £29 by 10 there. So when we multiply that by 3, we'll get our 30%. So 0 3s are 0, 9 3s are 27, and 2 3s are 6. Add the 2 makes 8. So 2 decimal places in the question, so 2 decimal places in the answer. So this is 30%. Okay, then because 10% was £2.90, our 5% is going to be a half of that. So 5% will be £1.45. So adding these two numbers together, we can just get rid of the 2 from there because that's a little bit in the way. So we're going to add these two numbers together and we're going to get 5, 11, 8, 9, 10. So our answer is £10.50. Okay, hope you managed that okay. So next one. What we've got to remember with this question is our rules in terms of the order of operations. So we need to remember BODMAS. Remember that? Basically what we mean there is that our dividing and multiplying has to happen before our addition and our subtraction. Okay, so we need to work out this bit first of all. So we're going to work out that and then add 0.4 to it. So if you pause the video just now, then you can do that question. Come back to me when you've done it. Okay, so we're going to do 3.7 times 11. We should know our 11 times table. So we've got 7 11s. Whoops, didn't mean to put that dot there. So we've got 7 11s are 77. And 3 11s are 33. Add the 7 makes 40. We've got 1 decimal place in the question, so we need 1 decimal place in the answer. So we've got 40.7 is our answer to this bit here, and then we need to add 0.4 to that. So just clear that little bit of space. So we're going to add 0.4, and that's going to give us 11 there, 1 and 4. So the answer to 0.4 add 3.7 times 11 is 41.1. Okay, and then next, the last one here, which is larger out of these two? So remember, when you're multiplying by 300, then you're timesing by 3 and timesing by 100. It doesn't matter what order you do that in. And this one, you're multiplying by 7 and by 100. Okay, so pause it just now whilst you work that out and then come back to me. Okay, so this first bit here, 7.3 times 300. So we're going to do 7.3 times 3. So 3 3s are 9, 7 3s are 21. 1 decimal place in the question, so 1 in the answer. We're going to multiply that by 100 now because we wanted to multiply by 300. So we need to move all our digits 2 places to the left, which gives us 2190. Okay, the second one, the 3.7 times 700. we're going to do 3.7 times 7. So 7 sevens are 49. 3 sevens are 21. Add the 4 makes 25. And we've got 1 decimal place in the question, so 1 decimal place in the answer. And again, we're going to multiply that by 100. So that'll give us 2590 when we move everything 2 places to the left. Remember, all our figures need to move 2 places to the left. The decimal point stays where it is. Okay, so the answer to the question, which is larger, 7.3 times 300 or 3.7 times 700, the answer is this one, because that's 2,590. So the answer would be that 3.7 times 700 is larger. Okay, right, so let's get on with today's work just now. So we're going to start our National 5 work with first unit, expressions and formulae. We're going to start on the second section of that because it leads on nicely from what you've been doing at National 4. So if you've already done National 5, you will find a lot of this first bit quite straightforward. If that's the case, that's okay. Just skip past it and go on to the work that I've put on Teams for you. Okay, so we're just going to work our way through these. I'll tell you how to do them as we're going along. And yeah, like I say, when we finish this lesson, just go back to Teams, look at the questions that I'm setting for you to do and do those. Then tomorrow I'll give you the solutions for today's questions and we'll move on to our next bit of work. Okay, so what we're going to do today is multiplying out brackets, and we're going to then involve some simplifying after that. Okay, so to start with question 1, we've just got to remember when we're multiplying out brackets that the thing outside the bracket has to multiply both of the things inside the bracket. So our answer to here needs to be 3 times 4x is 12x, and then 3 times 1 is 3, and everything's positive there. Okay, for number 2, we've got 5t times 2t gives us 10, and then t times t, remember, is t squared, don't forget the squared. And then we've got 5t times negative 3, this is a positive 5t and a negative 3. Remember, when you multiply two things together and the signs don't match, the answer's negative. So we've got 5t times negative 3 would give us minus 15t. Don't know where that line just came from. Oops. Rub that out, hold on. All right, okay. So next one, number 3. So 6a times a, first of all. So that gives us 6a squared. Then we've got 6a, positive 6a times positive 2b. So that's plus. So we've got 6 times 2 is 12. And a times b is just ab. Remember, when there's two things written beside each other, it means times. Okay, right, number 4. So 2 times 1 is 2. Then we've got 2 times negative 5w. So positive times a negative, we're going to have a minus there. 2 times 5 is 10, and we've got a w as well. Next one, number 5. So we've got negative 10 times 7m. So 10 times 7 is 70. And we've got the m there as well. And we've got a negative times a positive, which means it's a negative because the signs don't match. Okay, so we've done that bit. Then we've got negative 10 times positive 3. That gives us negative 30. Okay, and then the last one, number 6. When you see a minus outside a bracket like this, and there's nothing in there, that can sometimes put you off a little bit. So the thing to do is, there's 2 ways of thinking about this. We can either think that this is minus 1 lot of that bracket, and then we can just multiply it out as normal. Or we can think that a minus outside a bracket changes the signs of everything inside the bracket. Okay, so whichever way we do it, we're going to get the same answer. So let's do it with the 1 in here. Okay, and we'll just multiply it out. So we've got negative 1 times 2h would give us negative 2h. And then we've got negative 1 times negative 1. So negative times a negative, the signs match, so that answer would be positive. And then 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, if we went back to that and just did it the other way that I was just talking about, where you think that the negative outside the bracket here just changes all the signs that are inside the bracket. Okay, so this is a positive 2h at the moment here, so that would become a negative 2h. This is a negative 1, so the negative outside changes that sign to a plus 1. So you can see here that we've got negative 2h plus 1 and negative 2h plus 1. So whichever way we do that, we're going to get the same answer. Okay, so that's your basic multiplying out brackets. Now we're going to look at simplifying. Okay, so for these ones, a bit bigger. There we go. So for these ones, we multiply out the bracket first, and then we do our simplifying. So for number 1, what we've got to remember is that this bracket belongs together, and that plus 5 is separate. Okay, so this plus 5 doesn't happen until we've multiplied out the bracket. Okay, so let's multiply out the bracket then. So we've got 3 times 2x is 6x. We've got 3 times 1 is 3. And we've still got this plus 5. Okay, then we can simplify further by collecting like terms. So we've got 6x here at the start. And then we've got plus 3, plus 5, so plus 8 altogether. And that would be our answer. Okay, moving on to number 2. So again, we've got the bracket here. And then after we've multiplied out the bracket, we've got a minus x to deal with as well. But this minus x isn't anything to do with the bracket until we've multiplied it out. Okay, so let's multiply out the bracket. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then we've got a positive 4 times a negative 2x. So a positive times a negative gives us a negative. And then 4 times 2x is 8x. Okay, so we've multiplied out the bracket now, and we've still got this minus x that we need to put on the end here. So collecting like terms here, we've got, in numbers, we've got 12. And then in our x's, we've got a minus 8x here, minus another x there. So if we're at minus 8x and we take another one away, then we've taken away 9x altogether. So that would be our answer. All right, moving on to number 3. Again, looking at our sections, we've got the bracket that needs to be multiplied out, and we've got this separate 2 that needs to be added. Okay, so let's do that then. So we leave the 2 alone because we're not dealing with it just now. And then we just kind of ignore it, pretend it's not there, and deal with the bracket. So we've got a 3 times 7y, so that gives us 21y. And then we've got a positive 3 times a negative 1, so that'll give us a negative 3. And now when we collect like terms, we've got 21y, and we've got a positive 2 here, and a minus 3, so that'll give us minus 1 altogether. Okay. Right, so the next one, number 4. So what we've got here, if we look at our separate things that we've got a 10c, we've got a bracket to multiply out, and we've got a minus 9. So 3 different things going on here. So to start with, we're going to leave the 10c as it is. Then we're going to multiply out the bracket. And then after that, we've got a minus 9 on the end. Okay, so we've got a positive 2 times a positive 4 gives us a positive 8. Then we've got a positive 2 times a positive c, so plus 2c. So altogether here, when we collect like terms, in c's, we've got 10c, add 2c, so we've got 12c. and then we've got +8 and -9 gives us -1. So altogether, we've got 12c minus 1. Okay, last two now. So number 5, we've got two things here. We've got our 9d, and then we're minusing, subtracting this bracket here. Okay, so let's get on with this. So we leave our 9d as it is at the start. And then remember, when we're taking away a bracket and there's nothing in front of it, we can put a 1 there and multiply it out, or we can just know that that minus outside the bracket changes all the signs inside the bracket. So we'll do this way. This question we'll do with putting the 1 in front, and then when we get on to question 6, we'll do it by just changing the signs, so you can work out which way you prefer. Okay, so we've got our 9d, then we've got -1 times +d, so that gives us a -d. Then we've got -1 times +4 here. -1 times +4 gives us a -4. So altogether what we've got is 9d, take away d, that gives us 8d, and we've got a -4 as well. Okay, and then number 6, the things that we've got to look at here, we've got a 7e at the beginning, we've got a bracket with a minus in front and no number there, and we've got a +6 on the end. So altogether we've got 7e to start with, and then to multiply this bracket out here, what we're going to do is just remember that a negative outside a bracket changes all the signs inside the bracket. So this 3 here at the moment is positive, so that's going to change to a -3. And this -2e, well, obviously that's negative, so that's going to change to a +2e. But remember, you could have done this by just sticking a 1 in front of there and multiplying it out. Get the same answer. Okay, don't forget we've got a +6 on the end. So altogether, we've got 7e plus 2e gives us 9e. And then we've got a -3 and a +6. So we've got +3 altogether. Okay, so now what I want you to do is go back to Teams, find the questions that I want you to do for practice today. Do those, get back to me if you're not sure about any of it. So remember, you can use the chat function on Teams if you want to just talk to me about it, or just send me a message, or you can use the general section if you don't mind other people in the class seeing what your question is. But I think we can probably pretty much guarantee that if you're not sure about something, there will be other people who are also not sure. Okay, so if you get that done, then tomorrow I'll post some solutions to your questions, and we'll carry on from there. And we'll follow the same format each day, where we do starters and then our main questions, and then I give you practice ones. Okay, so good luck with that. Give me a shout if you're not sure about anything, and I'll see you tomorrow.